My 4-year-old asked, "Why does Daddy have two houses?" I divorced their father that week. Daddy's other house has a really big pool, Mommy. Can we go swimming there tomorrow? The words hit me like a freight train at 6:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, right as I was cutting Emma's chicken nuggets into bite-sized pieces. My 4-year-old daughter swung her little legs under the dining room table, completely oblivious to the bomb she'd just dropped into our perfectly ordinary dinner. "What did you say, sweetheart?" My voice came out steadier than I felt, the knife still frozen in my hand above her plate. Daddy showed me and Tommy the pool at his other house. It has a slide and everything. He said maybe we could have a pool party there. She beamed at me with those gap-toothed smile that usually melted my heart. Tonight, it made my stomach plummet into my shoes. 6-year-old Tommy looked up from his mac and cheese, nodding enthusiastically. "Yeah. And the lady there made us really good cookies. She was super nice to Daddy." She kept hugging him. The dining room suddenly felt too small, too hot. I set down the knife carefully, so carefully, because my hands had started to shake. 8 years of marriage. 8 years of being the perfect wife, the devoted mother who gave up her accounting career to raise our children while David climbed the ladder at Morrison and Associates law firm. "When did Daddy show you this house?" I asked, proud of how normal I sounded. "Last Saturday. Remember? When you went to Grandma's funeral?" Emma's innocent explanation felt like another punch to the gut. I'd driven 3 hours to attend my grandmother's funeral while David had to work. He'd volunteered to watch the kids, played the supportive husband role perfectly. "The lady's name is Ashley," Tommy added helpfully. "She has pretty blonde hair and she lives there with Daddy sometimes." Ashley. Even her name sounded young and uncomplicated. Nothing like Claire, 32-year-old Claire who hadn't seen the inside of a gym since Tommy was born, who wore the same 3 pairs of jeans in rotation and hadn't had her roots done in 6 weeks. "Did you have fun with Daddy and Ashley?" The question tasted bitter. Uh-huh. She let us stay up late and watch movies. And Daddy was laughing a lot. He doesn't laugh like that at our house. That observation from my 6-year-old hit harder than all the rest combined. When was the last time I'd heard David really laugh? When was the last time he'd looked at me the way he apparently looked at Ashley? "Can we eat dinner now?" "I'm hungry," Emma announced, already moving on to more pressing 4-year-old concerns. "Of course, baby. Eat up." I somehow made it through the rest of dinner, through bath time, through bedtime stories and tucked-in kisses. I smiled and laughed and played the part of Mommy perfectly while my world crumbled around me. The kids never suspected a thing. It was only after their bedroom doors clicked shut that I allowed myself to fall apart. I stood in our kitchen, our beautiful, expensive kitchen that David had insisted on renovating last year, and let the reality wash over me. My husband was cheating. He had a whole other life, complete with a house and a woman who made my children cookies and pool parties. He'd been living a double life right under my nose, and I'd been so busy being the perfect housewife that I'd missed every single sign. But as I stood there in the wreckage of my marriage, something else began to crystallize beneath the pain. Something harder, sharper. David had made a mistake underestimating me. A very expensive mistake. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at David's mahogany desk in his home office, the office I was supposedly too scattered to ever organize properly, and opened his laptop. He'd never bothered changing his password from our wedding date. Why would he? Naive little Claire could barely figure out online banking, right? Wrong. What David had conveniently forgotten was that before I became his devoted housewife, I'd been Claire Morrison, CPA. I'd graduated summa cum laude with a degree in forensic accounting. I'd helped send 3 embezzlers to prison during my brief but successful career at Henderson and Associates. The same skills that made me valuable in corporate fraud investigations were about to become David's worst nightmare. His email history painted a picture that made my dinner revelation look like child's play. The affair with Ashley Chen, 26 years old, paralegal at a competing firm, had been going on for 14 months. Not weeks. Not a few stolen moments. Over a year of elaborate lies, fabricated business trips, and late nights at the office. The house Emma had mentioned? A $3,800 a month rental in Riverside Heights that David was paying for under the name of his shell company, DM Consulting LLC. A company that didn't exist in any legitimate business capacity but had been funneling money for months. But that was just the appetizer. David's financial records read like a masterclass in marital fraud. The $47,000 business expense from March? A 2-week vacation to Cabo with Ashley while he told me he was at a legal conference in Chicago. The $15,000 client development charges? Jewelry, dinners, and shopping sprees for his girlfriend. My hands moved across the keyboard with muscle memory I thought I'd lost. Bank statements, credit card records, investment accounts, I systematically documented everything. David had been siphoning money from our joint accounts and his law firm's client trust fund to finance his double life. The client trust fund violations alone could get him disbarred and criminally prosecuted. At 2:17 a.m., I hit the jackpot. Hidden in a folder labeled Tax Prep 2019 were records of the offshore account in the Cayman Islands. David had been hiding income from his most lucrative cases, evading taxes to the tune of $230,000 over 3 years. I screenshot everything, saved copies to a cloud drive he didn't know I had access to, and printed the most damning evidence on his own high-end printer. Each page felt like ammunition in a war I was finally ready to fight. But it was the text message thread I discovered at 3:45 a.m. that truly broke my heart and solidified my resolve. "Ashley, when are you going to tell Claire about us? I'm tired of hiding." "David, soon, baby. I need to time it right. She's completely dependent on me, gave up her career, has no idea how to handle finances. Once I file, she'll take whatever scraps I throw her. Then we can be together properly." "Ashley, what about the kids?" "David, weekend visits, maybe. Honestly, it'll be easier. Claire can have the day-to-day headaches, and we can have our freedom. Weekend visits. Maybe." He was planning to abandon his children the same way he'd abandoned his marriage vows. Emma and Tommy were just inconveniences to be minimized in his pursuit of his shiny new life. I closed the laptop and walked upstairs to check on my sleeping children. Emma had kicked off her covers, as always. Tommy clutched his stuffed dinosaur tight. They looked so peaceful, so trusting that mommy and daddy would always protect them. David thought I was weak, dependent, naive. He was about to learn exactly how dangerous an underestimated woman could be. The next morning, I played my role perfectly. Coffee ready at 6:15 a.m., just how David liked it. Breakfast on the table. Kids dressed and ready for school. When he walked into the kitchen at 6:45 a.m. sharp, same routine for 8 years, I even managed to smile. Good morning, honey. Sleep well? David barely looked up from his phone, already scrolling through emails. Fine. Late night at the office ran longer than expected. The lie rolled off his tongue so smoothly. How many times had he practiced it? The Henderson merger? I asked innocently, buttering Emma's toast. Yeah, that's the one. He grabbed his coffee, kissed my cheek with lips that had been on another woman. Probably another late night tonight. Don't wait up. Another night with Ashley. Another night in the house my children had described in excruciating detail. I nodded like the obedient wife he expected me to be. Of course. I'll leave dinner in the fridge. After he left and the kids were at school, I got to work. Real work, for the first time in years. My first call was to my old boss, Margaret Henderson. We'd kept in touch sporadically, Christmas cards, the occasional coffee, but I hadn't spoken to her about business in 4 years. Claire Morrison. What a wonderful surprise. Margaret's voice was warm, familiar. How are David and the children? Actually, Margaret, I need your help. Professional help. I took a deep breath. I need to refer a case to someone, and I need the best forensic accountant and divorce attorney you know. The silence stretched for exactly 3 seconds. Margaret had always been sharp. I see. How soon? Yesterday. Meet me at Henderson and Associates at 2 p.m. I'll have people there. At exactly 2 p.m., I sat in the conference room where I'd once presented fraud cases to prosecutors. Margaret had assembled a team that looked like the legal equivalent of Navy SEALs: Rebecca Torres, the divorce attorney who'd famously taken down 3 state senators in custody battles, and James Liu, the forensic accountant who'd unraveled the Pemberton Industries scandal. I laid out everything. The offshore accounts, the shell company, the client trust fund violations, the tax evasion. I showed them David's own records, his own admissions in writing. Rebecca's eyes lit up like Christmas morning. This is comprehensive. Your husband essentially documented his own crimes. The client trust fund violations alone, James was already calculating, fingers flying across his laptop. We're looking at potential criminal charges, automatic disbarment, and civil liability to his clients. How fast can we move? I asked. With evidence this solid? We can file an emergency motion for exclusive use of the marital home and temporary custody within 48 hours, Rebecca said. But Claire, you need to understand, this will get ugly fast. Men like your husband don't go down quietly. He already went down quietly, I replied. He just doesn't know it yet. But my confidence wavered 2 hours later when I picked up Emma from preschool. Her teacher, Mrs. Patterson, pulled me aside with that concerned expression educators master. Emma mentioned something interesting during share time today, she said carefully. She told the class about visiting Daddy's special house and meeting Daddy's special friend Ashley. She seemed confused about whether it was supposed to be a secret. My blood ran cold. What exactly did she say? She asked if other daddies have special friends who live in special houses. The other children started asking questions I couldn't answer. Mrs. Patterson's voice was gentle but firm. Claire, if there's something going on at home, Emma's processing it, even if she doesn't understand it. That night, after dinner, Emma climbed into my lap during story time. Mommy? Are you sad? Why would you ask that, sweetheart? You look like Tommy when he lost his dinosaur. Like something important is missing. Something important was missing. 8 years of my life. My trust. My marriage. My children's intact family. But looking at Emma's concerned little face, I realized something else. I wasn't just fighting for money or revenge anymore. I was fighting for my daughter's understanding of what love actually looked like. I was making breakfast Thursday morning when David's phone, left carelessly on the counter, lit up with a text from Ashley. Can't wait for Aruba next week. Should I book the couple's massage for Tuesday or Wednesday? Aruba. Next week was Emma's parent-teacher conference and Tommy's school play. The play he'd been practicing his 3 lines for every night for a month. David had promised to be there, had even marked it on our shared calendar. I screenshot the message and forwarded it to myself before deleting the evidence from his sent folder. Just another piece of ammunition for Rebecca Torres. Daddy. Emma ran into the kitchen, still in her Princess Elsa pajamas. Will you come to my conference next Tuesday? Mrs. Patterson wants to show you my reading chart. David barely glanced up from buttering his toast. We'll see, sweetheart. Daddy might have to travel for work. The lie came so easily. I watched Emma's face fall, and something cold and calculating settled in my chest. He was already choosing Ashley over his own children, and they hadn't even been served divorce papers yet. Of course Daddy will be there, I said, meeting David's eyes across the kitchen island. Nothing's more important than his family, right, honey? His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Right. Of course. After he left for the office, Ashley's house, according to the GPS tracker I'd activated on his car through our family plan, I called Rebecca Torres with an update. He's planning to be out of the country when we serve papers? Rebecca's laugh was sharp. Even better. We'll file tomorrow and serve him at his law firm. Public, professional, and completely humiliating. But at 11:30 a.m., my phone rang with David's name on the screen. Claire. His voice was different. Colder. We need to talk. Meet me at home. Now. The line went dead before I could respond. My blood turned to ice water. Had he discovered something? Found evidence that I'd been in his computer? I arrived home to find David's Mercedes already in the driveway. He was waiting in his office, sitting behind his desk like a judge about to deliver a verdict. Sit down, Claire. I remained standing. What's this about? Margaret Henderson called Morrison and Associates this morning. Apparently someone's been asking questions about forensic accounting services. His eyes were glacial blue, the same eyes that used to look at me with love. Specifically, someone named Claire Morrison. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I kept my expression neutral. I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. David stood, and for the first time in 8 years of marriage, he looked truly dangerous. I know you've been snooping, Claire. I know you found something you think gives you leverage. The only thing I found was 14 months of receipts for your girlfriend's lifestyle. The words came out steadier than I felt. Along with some very interesting offshore banking records. His face went white, then flushed red. You stupid bitch. Do you have any idea what you're playing with? I could destroy you. I could make sure you never see those kids again. With what grounds? Adultery? Financial fraud? Tax evasion? I pulled out my phone, scrolled to a screenshot of his Cayman Islands account. Because I have documentation of all of those things. In your own handwriting. David moved around the desk so fast I barely had time to step back. He grabbed my wrist, fingers digging in hard enough to leave marks. You're going to delete everything you copied. You're going to call Henderson and tell them it was a misunderstanding. And you're going to keep your mouth shut, or I will make your life a living hell. Let go of me. My voice was quiet, deadly calm. You have no idea how much power I have in this town, Claire. Judges, social workers, custody evaluators, they're all in my professional circle. You're just a housewife who couldn't even balance a checkbook without help. But he was wrong about one crucial thing. I'd been recording our conversation on my phone since the moment I walked into his office. I twisted out of David's grip and took 3 steps backward, keeping the phone recording. You just threatened me, David. On tape. His face went from red to ash gray in seconds. You're recording this? 14 months of lying to me, and you're surprised I don't trust you? I held up the phone, making sure he could see the red recording dot. Please, continue explaining how you're going to use your professional connections to commit custody fraud. I'm sure Rebecca Torres will find it fascinating. David sank into his desk chair like a deflated balloon. For the first time since I'd known him, he looked genuinely afraid. Claire, listen. No, you listen. I moved closer to the desk, placing both hands flat on the mahogany surface he was so proud of. At 2:47 p.m. today, you will be served with divorce papers at Morrison and Associates. The receptionist will hand them to you in front of your colleagues, your partners, and whoever happens to be in the lobby. You can't. I can, and I am. The emergency motion for temporary custody and exclusive use of this house will be heard Monday morning at 9 a.m. Your girlfriend Ashley Chen, yes, I know her full name, her address, her employer, and her social security number, will probably want to clear her schedule. She might need to testify about the $67,000 you've spent on her this year alone. David's hands were shaking now. How could you possibly know? About the Cayman Islands account? The shell company? The client trust funds you've been raiding? I smiled, and it felt like showing teeth. David, I've been doing your bookkeeping for 3 years. You had me organize the very files that prove you're a criminal. I never let you handle the important. The important what? The tax documents I filed? The business expense reports I categorized? The investment statements I reconciled? I laughed, and it came out harsh. You had me input the data for your offshore transfers. You just assumed I was too stupid to understand what I was looking at. The silence stretched between us like a wire about to snap. Finally, David spoke, his voice barely a whisper. What do you want? Full custody. The house. 70% of all marital assets, including the hidden ones. Alimony of $8,000 a month until Emma turns 18. I straightened up, brushing imaginary dust off my jeans. Oh, and you're going to voluntarily surrender to the IRS and the California State Bar for investigation. That's insane. I'll never agree to. Then you'll go to prison. I shrugged. Tax evasion is a federal crime, David. Client trust fund violations carry mandatory jail time. Your choice, negotiate with me, or negotiate with a federal prosecutor. David stood up abruptly, knocking over his coffee mug. The dark liquid spread across his pristine desk, soaking into the legal documents scattered there. You vindictive bitch. I gave you everything. This house, those kids, a life most women would kill for. You gave me lies. The words came out flat, final. You gave our children a father who calls them weekend visits, maybe. You gave me 8 years of playing house while you built a real life with someone else. Ashley means nothing. Ashley means enough for a house in Riverside Heights and a vacation to Aruba during our son's school play. I checked my phone, 1:15 p.m. You have 93 minutes before this conversation becomes public record. I suggest you call your attorney. I headed for the door, then paused with my hand on the frame. Oh, and David? Pack a bag. The emergency restraining order takes effect the moment you're served. You won't be coming home tonight. Claire, wait. But I was already walking away, my phone still recording every word. At exactly 2:47 p.m., I sat in my car outside Morrison and Associates, watching through the floor-to-ceiling windows as the process server approached the reception desk. My phone buzzed with a text from Rebecca Torres, asterisk paper served. He went white as a sheet. Partners looked very interested in the commotion. Asterisk. But my victory moment was cut short by another text, this one from an unknown number, asterisk stop what you're doing or you'll regret it. We know where the kids go to school. Asterisk. My blood turned to ice. I screenshot the message and immediately called Rebecca while speeding toward Emma's preschool. Someone just threatened my children, I said the moment she picked up. What exactly did the message say? Rebecca's voice sharpened to a razor edge. I read it verbatim while pulling into the school parking lot. Emma was on the playground, safely visible through the chain-link fence, completely oblivious as she went down the slide. This escalated faster than expected, Rebecca said grimly. David must have called in favors. We need to get you and the kids somewhere safe tonight. But as I hung up, another call came through. David's number. You have 30 seconds, I answered. Claire, I didn't send that text. His voice was strained, desperate. Someone else is involved now. Ashley's ex-boyfriend, he's not exactly stable. When she told him about us moving in together. What are you talking about? I kept my eyes locked on Emma, who was now playing on the monkey bars. Marcus Chin. Ashley's ex-husband. He's been harassing her for months, threatening anyone she dates. When he found out about us, about the house. Claire, he's dangerous. Really dangerous. My stomach dropped. You brought a dangerous man into our lives? Near our children? I didn't know. Ashley said he was harmless, just bitter about the divorce. But after the papers were served today, she called me crying. He showed up at her work, screaming about how I destroyed his family. He knows about you, about the kids. I closed my eyes, trying to process this nightmare spiral. What exactly did Ashley tell him? Everything. Our addresses, the kids' schools, your daily routine. David's voice cracked. Claire, whatever's happening between us, the kids don't deserve this. For the first time since this began, David was right about something. I called the school office and had them bring both children inside immediately. While waiting, I googled Marcus Chin. The search results made my blood run cold. Marcus Chin, 34, arrested twice for stalking, once for assault. Recently unemployed software engineer. Divorced from Ashley Chin 8 months ago after she filed a restraining order that had since expired. Emma skipped toward my car, backpack bouncing, completely unaware that our world had just become exponentially more dangerous. Mommy. Mrs. Patterson says we get to do finger painting tomorrow. That's wonderful, sweetheart. We're going to pick up Tommy and go visit Grandpa Joe for a few days. Like a vacation? Emma's eyes lit up. Exactly like a vacation. But as we drove toward Tommy's school, a black Honda Civic appeared in my rearview mirror. Same car that had been parked across from Emma's preschool. Same car now following us through 3 consecutive turns. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Marcus Chin had found us. And judging by the way he was gaining ground, he wasn't planning to just watch from a distance. I floored the accelerator, my minivan lurching forward as the black Honda closed the gap between us. Emma looked up from her coloring book in the back seat. Mommy, why are we going so fast? Just trying to beat traffic, baby. I took a sharp right toward Tommy's school, watching the Honda follow. My phone rang through the car speakers, Rebecca's number. Claire, where are you right now? Being followed by what I think is Marcus Chin. Black Honda, license plate 7G4M891. I rattled off the numbers while taking another turn. He's been tailing us since Emma's school. Do not go to Tommy's school. You'll be trapped in pickup line traffic. Drive straight to the police station on 5th Street. But as I approached the next intersection, the Honda suddenly accelerated, pulling alongside my van. Through his passenger window, I could see a man with dark hair and wild eyes gesturing frantically for me to pull over. His mouth was moving, shouting something I couldn't hear over Emma's Disney playlist. Mommy, that man looks angry, Emma said, pressing her face to the window. Marcus swerved closer, his bumper nearly clipping mine. I yanked the wheel right, tires squealing as we careened into a shopping center parking lot. He followed, boxing me in near the Target entrance where dozens of afternoon shoppers could see us. He was out of his car before I'd even stopped moving. Get out of the car. Marcus slammed his palm against my driver's side window, making Emma scream. I just want to talk. David Morrison ruined my life. I kept the engine running, doors locked, and speed dialed 911. Through the phone, I could hear Rebecca shouting instructions, but Marcus was pounding on the window now, his face twisted with rage. He destroyed my marriage. Stole my wife. Now he gets to keep his perfect little family while I lose everything? Marcus's voice was muffled through the glass, but his fury was crystal clear. That's not how this works. 911, what's your emergency? I'm being threatened by Marcus Chin at the Target on Riverside Drive. License plate 7G4M891. He's surrounding my vehicle with my 4-year-old daughter inside. Units are dispatched. Stay in your vehicle. But Marcus heard me talking to the operator. His expression shifted from rage to panic. He ran back toward his Honda, and for a split second I thought he was leaving. Instead, he grabbed something from his glove compartment. A tire iron. Oh God, I breathed, throwing the van in reverse as Marcus stalked back toward us, weapon raised. Mommy, I'm scared. Emma was crying now, reaching for me from her car seat. I backed up fast, nearly hitting a shopping cart, as Marcus swung the tire iron at my windshield. The glass spiderwebbed but didn't shatter. Other shoppers were screaming, pulling out phones, running for the store entrance. He's got a weapon, I told the 911 operator, my voice surprisingly steady. Tire iron. He just tried to break my windshield. Marcus was chasing us on foot now, but I had momentum. I peeled out of the parking lot just as the first police siren became audible in the distance. In my rearview mirror, I watched Marcus throw the tire iron at my retreating van before jumping back in his Honda. He wasn't following anymore, but my hands were shaking so violently I could barely steer. Mrs. Morrison? The 911 operator was still on the line. Officers are pursuing the suspect vehicle. Are you and your daughter injured? We're okay. But I need to get to my son's school. He gets out in 20 minutes. We'll have units there waiting. I called Tommy's school office while driving, my voice somehow staying calm despite the adrenaline coursing through my system. This is Claire Morrison, Tommy's mom. I need him in the main office immediately. There's a family emergency. 20 minutes later, I was hugging both my children in the school principal's office while Detective Sarah Kim took my statement. Marcus Chan had been arrested 6 blocks away, the tire iron still in his passenger seat. The restraining order will be processed within hours, Detective Kim assured me. But Mrs. Morrison, this man specifically mentioned your husband destroying his marriage. Has your husband been in contact with Marcus's ex-wife? I almost laughed at the cosmic irony. Ashley Chen is my husband's mistress. We're getting divorced. Detective Kim's eyebrows shot up. So Marcus Chen isn't just threatening you randomly. You're married to the man who broke up his marriage. Apparently so. That changes things significantly. This could be charged as criminal stalking with intent to terrorize. Much more serious than simple harassment. My phone buzzed with yet another unknown number. This time it was a call, not a text. Don't answer that, Detective Kim said quickly, but it was too late. I'd already hit accept. Claire Morrison? The voice was unfamiliar, female, nervous. Who is this? Ashley Chen. We need to talk. You have 30 seconds to explain why I should listen to anything you have to say, I told Ashley Chen while Detective Kim frantically gestured for me to hang up. Marcus is my problem, not yours. Ashley's voice was shaky, scared. I never told David about his history. I thought he'd moved on when our divorce was finalized. Your ex-husband just attacked me and my 4-year-old daughter with a tire iron. He's way past not moving on. I know. The police called me after they arrested him. Claire, I'm so sorry. I never wanted. What you wanted was my husband. I looked at Emma, who was coloring in Detective Kim's notepad, still sniffling from our parking lot ordeal. What you wanted was my children's father. What you got was a cheating lawyer and a psychotic ex. That's not my problem. But it is your problem now. Ashley's voice hardened slightly. Because Marcus isn't done. The arrest will just make him angrier. And he's not just mad at David anymore, he's fixated on you. Detective Kim was shaking her head vigorously, drawing a finger across her throat. End the call. But something in Ashley's tone made me hesitate. What aren't you telling me? Marcus has been following David for weeks. He knows David's schedule, his habits, his routes. But after today, after seeing you and Emma, Ashley took a shaky breath. He called me from jail. He said if he can't have his family back, then David doesn't get to keep his either. My blood turned to ice. He threatened my children? He threatened to make David understand what it feels like to lose everything that matters. Claire, Marcus isn't just angry, he's having a complete breakdown. And now you and your kids are part of his revenge fantasy. Detective Kim grabbed the phone from my hand. Ms. Chen? This is Detective Sarah Kim with Riverside PD. We're going to need you to come in and provide a detailed statement about your ex-husband's threats and mental state. While Detective Kim continued the conversation, I called Rebecca Torres. How fast can we get an emergency hearing for full custody? I asked the moment she picked up. Given today's events? Tomorrow morning. Judge Morrison, no relation to your husband, takes domestic violence cases very seriously. But Claire, there's something else we need to discuss. What now? David's law firm put him on administrative leave an hour ago. Apparently the managing partners had some very interesting conversations after the process server's visit. Someone's been asking questions about client trust fund irregularities. I felt a grim satisfaction mixed with new worry. So he's unemployed? Effectively, yes. Which means his $8,000 monthly salary just disappeared. It also means he's desperate, cornered, and has nothing left to lose. Just like Marcus Chin. Exactly like Marcus Chin. We need to assume both men are going to escalate. As if summoned by our conversation, David's name appeared on my phone screen. Against Detective Kim's obvious disapproval, I answered. Claire, thank God you're okay. David's voice was strained, exhausted. I heard about Marcus, about what happened at Target. Are the kids hurt? Emma's traumatized and Tommy doesn't even know yet. I watched my 6-year-old playing with Detective Kim's badge stickers, oblivious to the adult chaos swirling around him. This is your fault, David. Your choices brought a dangerous man into our lives. I know. God, I know. But we need to work together now. Marcus made bail. What? I shot upright in my chair. How is that possible? Ashley's parents posted it. $25,000. He's out, Claire. And according to Ashley, he's not going home. Detective Kim heard my sharp intake of breath and immediately got on her radio. Within seconds, she was coordinating increased patrol units around both kids' schools and our house. Where is he now? I asked David. Nobody knows. He's not answering Ashley's calls. His GPS monitor from the previous arrest was removed last month. But David Morrison's been easy to find for weeks. Marcus knows my patterns, my office, my usual restaurants. Then stop being predictable. I already checked into a hotel downtown. But Claire, he's not just angry at me anymore. He sees you as part of what I stole from him. A wife, a family, a normal life. I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of this nightmare pressing down. 3 days ago, my biggest worry was whether Emma's preschool Halloween party needed more juice boxes. Now I was hiding from 2 different dangerous men, one who betrayed me, one who wanted to destroy me. We need to disappear for a while, I told David. Take the kids somewhere Marcus can't find them. Agreed. But Claire? David's voice dropped to barely a whisper. Whatever happens between us, whatever you do to me legally, I won't let anything happen to Emma and Tommy. I know I destroyed our marriage, but I won't let Marcus destroy our children. For the first time in days, David sounded like the man I'd married. It was probably already too late. That night, I sat in a hotel room 20 miles outside the city, watching my children sleep in the adjoining bed while scrolling through Marcus Chen's social media history on my laptop. Detective Kim had given me access to his profiles. Apparently his privacy settings were non-existent, and his recent posts painted a terrifying picture of escalating obsession. 3 weeks ago, some people think they can just take whatever they want without consequences. 2 weeks ago, David Morrison, ESQ thinks he's untouchable. We'll see about that, 1 week ago, found out where the wife and kids go every day. Interesting, And posted just 6 hours ago, after making bail, phase 2 begins now. My hands were shaking as I screenshot everything for Rebecca's case file. Marcus wasn't just targeting David anymore, he'd been studying our entire family for weeks. He knew Emma's preschool schedule, Tommy's after-school routine, even my grocery shopping patterns at the Safeway on Thursdays. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, the third one tonight, running won't help. I know exactly who you are now, Claire Morrison. David's perfect little wife who thinks she deserves better than he gave me, I immediately forwarded it to Detective Kim while moving to double-check the hotel room locks. The chain, deadbolt, and door latch were all secure, but I still dragged the desk chair over and wedged it under the handle. Emma stirred in her sleep, mumbling something about the angry man at the store. Even unconscious, she was processing the trauma. Tomorrow I'd have to explain to both kids why we couldn't go home, why Daddy was staying somewhere else, why our normal life had exploded overnight. At 11:47 p.m., my phone rang. Rebecca Torres, calling well outside business hours. We have a problem, she said without preamble. David's been arrested. What? For what? Violation of the emergency restraining order. He was picked up outside your house at 11:15 p.m. Neighbors called it in, suspicious man with a key trying to enter a residence. I closed my eyes, feeling another piece of my carefully constructed plan crumble. He was probably trying to get clothes, or documents, or... It doesn't matter why, Claire. He violated a court order 12 hours after being served. The judge is going to throw the book at him. Is that good or bad for us? Both. Good because it proves he has no respect for legal boundaries. Bad because now he's in county jail, which means if Marcus escalates, David can't help protect you and the kids. As if triggered by her words, a new text appeared on my phone. This time it was from David's number, * in jail tonight. Couldn't reach you any other way. Marcus was at the house when I got there, *. My blood went cold. Rebecca, David says Marcus was at our house. Hold on. I could hear her typing rapidly. Checking with dispatch. Yes, officers responded to a burglary alarm at your address at 11:52 p.m. Silent alarm, triggered by basement window entry. Suspect fled before units arrived. Marcus broke into our house. The words came out as a whisper. I looked at my sleeping children, imagining Marcus Chin standing in their bedrooms, touching their toys, learning their most intimate spaces. That's why David was arrested outside, Rebecca continued. He saw signs of forced entry and was trying to investigate when patrol units arrived. Wrong place, wrong time. So Marcus has been inside our house. He knows how we live, where the kids sleep, what security system we have. It gets worse. David's arraignment is tomorrow at 9 a.m. Same time as your emergency custody hearing. He can't be at both. I stood up and walked to the hotel window, peering through the blackout curtains at the empty parking lot. A silver sedan sat under the far streetlight, engine running. Too far away to see the license plate, but my heart rate spiked anyway. Rebecca, I think he found us. Rebecca, I think he found us. The silver sedan's engine cut out as I watched through the blackout curtains. A man stepped out, tall, dark jacket, impossible to identify from 4 floors up. But he was looking directly at our hotel window. Claire, get away from the window right now, Rebecca commanded through the phone. Are the kids awake? Still sleeping. I backed into the bathroom, keeping my voice low. There's a man in the parking lot. Silver Honda, different car than this afternoon. Marcus probably ditched the black Honda after the arrest. I'm calling hotel security and local police. Do not leave that room. But even as Rebecca spoke, I heard the elevator ding in the hallway outside our door. 4th floor, same floor as our room. The hotel had been nearly empty when we checked in, barely a dozen cars in the parking lot. Someone's on our floor, I whispered, moving back toward my sleeping children. Emma was curled around her stuffed bunny, completely vulnerable. Tommy's dinosaur had fallen to the carpet beside the bed. Claire, listen to me very carefully, Rebecca's voice was steady, professional. Take the kids into the bathroom. Lock the door. Do not come out until police arrive. Soft footsteps padded down the carpeted hallway outside our room. They stopped. Right outside our door. The handle rattled. I scooped up Emma, who mumbled sleepily but didn't fully wake. Tommy, honey, wake up. We need to play a quiet game. Mommy? Tommy's voice was groggy, confused. Where are we? Remember? We're having an adventure. But right now we need to be very, very quiet and go to the bathroom. The door handle rattled again, more insistently this time. Then came the sound of something metal sliding into the lock mechanism. He was picking the lock. Bathroom. Now, I hissed, carrying Emma while pushing Tommy ahead of me. I locked the bathroom door just as I heard our hotel room door click open. Marcus Chin was inside. Claire? His voice carried through the thin hotel walls, conversational, almost friendly. I know you're here. Ashley told me about your little road trip. Did you really think a $20 a night motel would keep you safe? Emma was fully awake now, eyes wide with terror. She remembered the angry man from the parking lot. Tommy pressed against my legs, clutching his dinosaur. I just want to talk, Marcus continued, his footsteps moving around the main room. About David. About what he took from me. About what I'm going to take from him. My phone showed Rebecca still on the line. I could see she'd muted herself, probably coordinating with police dispatch. But how long would it take them to get here? You know what's funny, Claire? Marcus was closer now, maybe standing right outside the bathroom door. Ashley told me all about David's perfect little family. Perfect wife who gave up her career. Perfect kids who call him daddy. Perfect house in the suburbs. The door handle turned. Locked, but these bathroom locks were flimsy, decorative. I had that once. Before your husband decided he wanted my wife. Before Ashley decided she preferred his money to my loyalty. Something heavy slammed against the door, his shoulder, testing the frame. Mommy, I'm scared, Emma whimpered. Shoo, baby. The police are coming. I hoped that was true. Police? Marcus laughed, and it sounded unhinged. Claire, I used to be a systems analyst. I know how dispatch works, response times, radio protocols. You've got at least 8 minutes before they find the right room. Another slam against the door. The frame cracked slightly. 8 minutes is plenty of time for David Morrison to understand exactly what I've been feeling for the past 14 months. Slam. The wood splintered further. The helplessness. The rage. The knowledge that someone else is living the life that should have been yours. One more hit and that door would give way completely. That's when I heard the most beautiful sound in the world, police sirens, getting closer. Marcus heard them too. His footsteps moved away from the bathroom door, back toward the main room. This isn't over, Claire. David thinks he can hide behind lawyers and restraining orders and hotel rooms. But I'm not going anywhere. And eventually, you'll have to come home. I heard our hotel room door slam shut just as the sirens reached the parking lot. Detective Kim found me sitting on the hotel bathroom floor at 3:17 a.m., still clutching both children while they slept fitfully against my chest. The hotel manager stood behind her, wringing his hands and muttering about liability insurance. Marcus Chen is in the wind, Detective Kim said quietly, settling onto the edge of the bathtub. We found evidence he'd been in the room, fingerprints on the door handle, tool marks on the lock. But no sign of him in the parking lot or surrounding area. He had a different car. Silver Honda instead of the black one from this afternoon. My voice came out hoarse from 3 hours of whispered reassurances to Emma and Tommy. We're running plates on every silver Honda registered in a 50-mile radius. But Claire, he's escalating faster than anyone anticipated. Breaking into your house, tracking you here, this isn't just harassment anymore. It's stalking with clear intent to harm. I shifted Emma's weight, trying not to wake her. What does that mean legally? It means we can charge him with multiple felonies when we find him. But more importantly, it means you can't stay in public hotels anymore. He's demonstrated he can track your credit cards, probably through social media surveillance or basic online searches. So where do we go? The question that had been haunting me for hours. I can't keep moving my children around indefinitely. Emma's already asking why the angry man keeps following us. Detective Kim pulled out her phone, scrolling through what looked like case notes. There's a safe house program through the county. Designed for domestic violence situations, but stalking cases qualify. Completely off-grid location, no paper trail, 24-hour security. For how long? Until trial, or until Marcus is apprehended and formally charged. Could be days, could be weeks. She looked at Tommy, who was sucking his thumb for the first time in 2 years. But it's better than this. My phone buzzed with a call from Rebecca Torres. At 3:20 a.m., nothing good was coming. Claire, I need you to sit down. I'm already sitting on a bathroom floor. What now? David made bail an hour ago. Posted by someone named Jennifer Walsh, turns out she's been his paralegal for 6 years and apparently has been covering for him longer than just the Ashley situation. I closed my eyes, feeling another layer of betrayal settle over the existing wounds. How many women has he been cheating with? At least 3 that I can document from his email records. Jennifer goes back 2 years, Ashley 14 months, and someone named Lisa Chen for about 6 months last year. Chen? Related to Marcus's younger sister. Which explains how Marcus knew so much about David's patterns and schedule. Lisa was feeding information to her brother for months, probably without realizing how dangerous he was becoming. The web of lies and connections just kept growing more twisted. David hadn't just destroyed our marriage, he created a network of deception that somehow led a dangerous man straight to my children. There's more, Rebecca continued. Jennifer Walsh withdrew $75,000 from her personal savings to post David's bail. She also hired him a criminal defense attorney. Harold Vance, one of the most expensive lawyers in the state. Someone's really invested in keeping David out of jail. Which means someone besides Marcus wants to control this narrative. Claire, I think David's law firm is trying to contain the damage before it reaches their other clients. If his trust fund violations come to light publicly, it would destroy Morrison and associates completely. I understood now. They need David free and cooperative, not sitting in county jail where he might cut a deal with prosecutors. Detective Kim was listening to our conversation with growing alarm. She gestured for my phone, and I put Rebecca on speaker. Ms. Torres, this is Detective Kim. If David Morrison is out of jail, we have a bigger problem. Marcus Chen isn't just targeting him anymore, he's targeting the entire family structure that he believes David stole from him. Meaning? Meaning now there are 2 unpredictable men with nothing to lose, both circling the same family. One wants revenge, the other wants damage control. Both are willing to break laws to get what they want. Emma stirred against my shoulder, mumbling something about wanting to go home. Home. The place Marcus had broken into 12 hours ago. The place that no longer felt safe. I looked down at my children, innocent victims of adult choices and adult rage, and made a decision that would have been unthinkable 4 days ago. Detective Kim, tell me about that safe house. The safe house looked like a normal suburban rental, beige siding, small front yard, the kind of place you drive past without a second glance. That was exactly the point. Detective Kim pulled into the driveway at 4:47 a.m. while Emma and Tommy slept in their car seats, exhausted from our nightmare hotel evacuation. The previous tenants were relocated yesterday, Detective Kim explained quietly as we gathered our hastily packed bags. Maria Santos, the case manager, lives on site. Former sheriff's deputy, trained in close protection. Maria met us at the front door, a compact woman in her 50s with kind eyes and the bearing of someone who'd seen too much but still cared anyway. She helped carry Tommy inside without waking him, then immediately started coffee while I settled the kids in the back bedroom. The windows are reinforced, Maria explained, keeping her voice low. Security system is connected directly to dispatch. Panic buttons in every room, including the bathroom. And Mrs. Morrison? Your phone stays off unless absolutely necessary. Marcus Chen has demonstrated sophisticated tracking abilities. I powered down my cell and accepted the burner phone she handed me. 3 contacts programmed, Detective Kim, Rebecca Torres, and emergency dispatch. My connection to the outside world reduced to 3 numbers. How long do families usually stay here? I asked, watching Emma curl up with her bunny in the unfamiliar bed. Depends on the threat level. Domestic violence cases average 2 weeks. Stalking situations. Maria's expression darkened. Longer. Especially when the perpetrator has technical skills and financial resources. At 6:15 a.m., the burner phone rang. Rebecca's voice, tense with urgency. Claire, we have a development. David's been trying to reach you for 3 hours. He claims he has information about Marcus's next target. I'm not talking to David. You need to hear this. David says Marcus contacted Ashley this morning. He's not just planning to hurt you or the kids, he's planning something public, humiliating. Something that destroys David's reputation while making you and the children suffer. I walked into the kitchen where Maria was making breakfast for the kids. Put him through. But I want this recorded. The line clicked, and David's voice filled the safe house kitchen. He sounded hollow, defeated. Claire, thank God. Marcus sent Ashley a video message 2 hours ago. He's going to Emma's Halloween party tomorrow. My blood went cold. What? He knows the school, the timing, everything. He recorded himself saying he's going to make a public scene during the party. He wants all the other parents, all the teachers to watch David Morrison's perfect family fall apart. The school will have security. Marcus is smarter than that. He's not threatening violence, so they can't legally exclude him. He's planning psychological warfare. He wants to humiliate you in front of Emma's classmates, traumatize the kids while making sure everyone knows our family is destroyed. Maria was already on her radio, coordinating with Detective Kim. The Halloween party was in 18 hours. There's more, David continued. Ashley's scared. Marcus told her this is phase 3. Whatever he's been planning, the hotel break-in was just preparation. Phase 3 of what? I don't know. But Claire, Jennifer Walsh came clean about everything last night. The money she posted for my bail? It wasn't hers. Morrison and Associates gave it to her. They want me cooperative and quiet while they clean up the client trust fund mess. Another layer of corruption. David's law firm was actively protecting him to save themselves. So you're their puppet now? I'm their liability. And that makes you and the kids collateral damage. If Marcus's public scene tomorrow exposes everything, the affairs, the hidden money, the criminal charges, Morrison and Associates loses everything. Maria gestured for my attention. She'd been listening to dispatch on her radio. Mrs. Morrison, there's been another development. Marcus Chen was spotted at Emma's school 43 minutes ago. Apparently he told the night janitor he was doing advanced security planning for tomorrow's event. The room started spinning. Marcus wasn't waiting for the Halloween party. He was already there, studying the layout, planning his attack on my daughter's innocent world. David, I said into the phone, what exactly did Marcus say in that video message? He said he's going to make sure Emma and Tommy understand who their father really is. He's going to tell them everything, in front of everyone, in the cruelest way possible. My 4-year-old daughter was going to learn about her father's betrayal from a dangerous stranger, in front of her entire preschool class, during what should have been her favorite day of the year. Unless I could stop it first. I hung up on David and stared at Maria, my mind racing through impossible calculations. Emma's Halloween party was in 17 hours. Marcus had already scouted the school. And somewhere in this nightmare equation was a 4-year-old girl who still believed her biggest problem was choosing between the butterfly wings and the princess crown for her costume. We have to cancel the party, I said. Maria shook her head grimly. That's not how this works, Mrs. Morrison. You cancel the party, Marcus just moves to plan B. Maybe Tommy's school, maybe the grocery store you frequent, maybe he waits until you think it's safe and hits you when you're not expecting it. So what are you suggesting? I use my daughter as bait? I'm suggesting we control the environment. Maria pulled out a tablet, scrolling through what looked like security protocols. Detective Kim can coordinate with school administration. Plainclothes officers, controlled access, emergency procedures. Turn Marcus's planned ambush into our trap. The burner phone rang again. This time it was Detective Kim. Claire, I just got off the phone with Principal Martinez at Emma's school. Marcus Chen called the main office 20 minutes ago, claiming to be Emma Morrison's uncle and requesting details about tomorrow's party schedule. Did they give him information? The secretary is new, young. She confirmed the party runs from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. in the main gymnasium. Costume parade at 10:15, refreshments until 11 o'clock, then pickup in the usual carpool line. I closed my eyes, picturing Marcus timing his attack for maximum impact. Right during the costume parade, when every parent would be taking photos, when Emma would be most excited and vulnerable. There's something else, Detective Kim continued. We ran backgrounds on all the school staff and volunteer parents for tomorrow's event. One name stood out, Jennifer Walsh registered to help with face painting yesterday afternoon. David's paralegal? The one who bailed him out? The same one. She volunteered for a school event at a place where she has no children enrolled. That's not coincidence. Maria grabbed her radio. This is bigger than just Marcus. Morrison and Associates is positioning people at that school. To do what? Damage control. If Marcus creates a public scene about David's affairs and criminal activity, they need witnesses they can control. People who can shape the narrative, minimize the legal exposure. At 7:30 a.m., Emma wandered into the kitchen still wearing her Princess Elsa pajamas, dragging her stuffed bunny behind her. Mommy, where's my butterfly costume? Is today my party? I knelt down to her level, trying to keep my voice steady. Tomorrow is your party, sweetheart. But first we need to talk about something important. Are we still hiding from the angry man? The fact that my 4-year-old had to ask that question made my heart break all over again. Yes, baby. But tomorrow, the police are going to make sure your party is safe. Will Daddy be there? The question I'd been dreading. David would be there, he had every legal right as her father, and skipping Emma's Halloween party would only fuel Marcus's narrative about David abandoning his family. Daddy will be there. And so will some police officers, but they'll be dressed like regular people. It's going to be like a game. Tommy appeared in the doorway, clutching his dinosaur. What kind of game? A game where we help the good guys catch a bad guy. But you have to do exactly what Mommy says, when Mommy says it. Can you do that? Both kids nodded solemnly. At 4 and 6, they were already learning that the adult world was more dangerous and complicated than they'd ever imagined. The burner phone rang again. Rebecca Torres, calling at 8:15 a.m. Emergency hearing moved up to this afternoon at 2 p.m. Judge Morrison wants to address the escalating security situation before tomorrow's school event. What does that mean for custody? It means if we can prove David's actions directly endanger the children, we can get an immediate order barring him from tomorrow's party. Remove him from the equation entirely. But that might make Marcus even more desperate. Or it might force him to show his hand prematurely, when we're ready for him instead of when he chooses the timing. Maria was already packing an overnight bag for the kids. Mrs. Morrison, there's a secure conference room at the courthouse. The children can wait there with the family services officer during your hearing. At 10:30 a.m., I was dressing Emma in her backup clothes when she looked up at me with those innocent blue eyes that looked exactly like David's. Mommy? After we catch the bad guy, will everything go back to normal? I smoothed her hair, searching for words that weren't lies but wouldn't terrify her further. Everything's going to be different, sweetheart. But different doesn't mean bad. Different just means new. New like when we moved to this house? New like starting a whole new adventure. Just you, me, and Tommy. Emma considered this seriously. Can we keep the butterfly costume for the new adventure? We can keep anything that makes you happy. As I helped her into her shoes, I realized I wasn't just preparing for a custody hearing anymore. I was preparing for war. At 1:45 p.m., I sat in the courthouse hallway watching Emma and Tommy color with crayons provided by the family services officer. They looked so small on the adult-sized chairs, legs swinging freely, completely unaware that the next hour would determine whether their father retained any legal right to be near them. Rebecca Torres emerged from the courtroom looking grim. David's here with Harold Vance and 2 associates from Morrison and Associates. They're claiming you're using the Marcus situation to manipulate custody proceedings. Are you serious? I'm manipulating the situation? My voice rose loud enough that Emma looked up from her coloring book. They're arguing that you deliberately escalated the conflict by pursuing the divorce aggressively, which triggered Marcus's obsession. Their position is that if you'd handled the separation quietly, none of this would have happened. The audacity was breathtaking. David destroys our marriage, brings a dangerous man into our lives through his reckless affair, and somehow I'm responsible for the consequences. What's their end game? Joint custody with mandatory counseling. They want the judge to believe this is all a domestic dispute that got out of hand, not a legitimate safety issue. Rebecca checked her watch. But I have something they don't know about yet. Which is? Ashley Chen is here. She drove down from Sacramento this morning to testify about Marcus's threats and David's behavior. Apparently her conscience finally kicked in. At exactly 2 p.m., Judge Patricia Morrison, a stern woman in her 60s with silver hair and no patience for nonsense, called our case. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected, but the weight of what was happening felt enormous. David sat at the defendant's table looking polished and repentant in his best navy suit. Harold Vance whispered instructions while the Morrison and Associates representatives took notes. They'd assembled a small army for what should have been a straightforward emergency hearing. Your Honor, Rebecca began, we're requesting immediate temporary sole custody due to credible threats against the minor children, threats that exist directly because of the respondent's reckless personal conduct. Harold Vance stood immediately. Objection. The threats come from a third party with mental health issues. My client is as much a victim here as anyone. Judge Morrison fixed him with a withering stare. Mr. Vance, this is a hearing, not a trial. Save your objections for criminal court. Rebecca called Ashley Chen as her first witness. Ashley looked terrified walking to the witness stand, her blonde hair pulled back severely, wearing a conservative black dress that probably came from David's credit card. Ms. Chen, how long have you been in a relationship with the respondent, David Morrison? 14 months. Ashley's voice was barely audible. And during that time, did you inform Mr. Morrison about your ex-husband's history of stalking and threatening behavior? Ashley glanced at David, then back at Rebecca. Not initially. I thought Marcus had moved on after our divorce was finalized. When did you become aware that your ex-husband posed a danger to Mr. Morrison's family? 3 weeks ago, Marcus started asking detailed questions about David's wife and children. Their schedules, their routines. He'd been following them, taking photos. Ashley's hand shook as she spoke. I told David we needed to be more careful, but he said it wasn't our problem. Harold Vance shot to his feet. Your Honor, hearsay. Overruled. Continue, Ms. Chen. Yesterday, after the divorce papers were served, Marcus called me. He said he was going to make David's children understand what it feels like to have your family destroyed. He specifically mentioned Emma's Halloween party. The courtroom fell silent except for the scratch of the court reporter's machine. Even David's legal team had stopped whispering. Did you warn Mr. Morrison about this specific threat? I tried to. But David said dealing with Marcus wasn't his responsibility. He said Claire was being dramatic about the whole thing. Ashley looked directly at me for the first time. I'm sorry. I should have called the police myself. Rebecca nodded. No further questions. Harold Vance approached the witness stand like a shark sensing blood. Ms. Chen, isn't it true that you've been pressured by law enforcement to testify against my client? No. Isn't it true that you stand to benefit financially if Mr. Morrison's marriage ends and you become his primary relationship? Ashley's composure cracked slightly. That's not why I'm here. Then why are you here, Ms. Chen? Guilt? Or revenge because my client chose to reconcile with his wife instead of continuing your affair? The lie hit the courtroom like a physical blow. David wasn't trying to reconcile, he was trying to minimize legal consequences. But Harold Vance had just painted a completely fictional narrative for the judge. Rebecca stood immediately. Objection, assumes facts not in evidence. Sustained. Mr. Vance, stick to established facts. But the damage was done. Judge Morrison was looking at me with new skepticism, as if I might be the vindictive wife trying to weaponize a custody hearing against a husband who wanted to come home. That's when my phone, the one I'd forgotten to turn off completely, buzzed with a text message that changed everything. The message wasn't from Marcus Chen. It was from Jennifer Walsh, sent to my old number but forwarded through Rebecca's office, Emma's school. Now. Marcus isn't waiting for tomorrow. The courtroom erupted into chaos as Rebecca showed Judge Morrison the text message. Within seconds, bailiffs were coordinating with dispatch while Harold Vance tried to argue that this was all an elaborate manipulation. Your Honor, this is clearly a staged emergency designed to. Mr. Vance, sit down and shut up. Judge Morrison was already standing, her black robes billowing as she moved toward the bench phone. Bailiff, get me Riverside Elementary on the line. Now. My heart hammered against my ribs as the reality sank in. Marcus had moved up his timeline. Emma's Halloween party wasn't until tomorrow, but he was at her school right now. At 2:43 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon, when she'd be in art class, completely vulnerable. David finally spoke, his voice cracking with genuine terror. Your Honor, whatever's happening between my wife and me, those children don't deserve this. I'll agree to anything. Full custody, supervised visitation, whatever keeps them safe. Judge Morrison held up one hand while pressing the phone to her ear with the other. Principal Martinez? This is Judge Morrison at Riverside County Court. I need you to implement lockdown procedures immediately. Yes, I understand this is unusual. There's a credible threat against one of your students. Rebecca was already gathering her files, preparing to leave. Your Honor, we need to. Nobody leaves this courtroom until I know those children are secure. Judge Morrison's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Bailiff, I want police units dispatched to Riverside Elementary and the safe house where the children are currently located. Harold Vance made one last desperate attempt. Your Honor, my client should be present if his children are in danger. Your client's presence is what created this danger. Judge Morrison's eyes were ice cold as she stared down David's legal team. Emergency sole custody granted to Claire Morrison, effective immediately. Restraining order expanded to include all school property and activities. Mr. Morrison, you will surrender your passport and remain available for criminal proceedings. At 3:17 p.m., I stood in Principal Martinez's office watching security camera footage of Marcus Chen being escorted off school property in handcuffs. He'd made it as far as the main hallway before alert teachers recognized him from the photos Detective Kim had distributed that morning. Emma sat in the art teacher's lap, clutching her butterfly wings and asking why all the grown-ups looked scared. She had no idea that the practice drill had been specifically designed to protect her. Mommy. She ran to me the moment she saw me, butterfly wings fluttering behind her. We had to hide under our desks today. Mrs. Patterson said I was very brave. You were incredibly brave, sweetheart. I held her tight, breathing in the familiar scent of her strawberry shampoo. And tomorrow we're going to have the best Halloween party ever. Detective Kim appeared in the doorway. Marcus Chen is in custody. Breaking and entering, stalking, terroristic threats. He won't make bail this time. And Jennifer Walsh is being questioned about her involvement. What about David? That's up to you now. Judge Morrison's custody order gives you complete control over his access to the children. Detective Kim's expression softened. For what it's worth, he looked genuinely terrified when he thought they were in danger. Whatever else he's done, I think he really does love those kids. That evening, I sat in our real house, no longer a crime scene, no longer a place to hide from, reading bedtime stories to Emma and Tommy. The locks had been changed, the security system upgraded, and Marcus Chen was in a jail cell where he belonged. Mommy? Emma looked up from her picture book. Is the angry man all gone now? Yes, baby. He can't hurt us anymore. And Daddy? I chose my words carefully. Daddy made some very bad choices that hurt our family. He'll still be your daddy, and he'll still love you, but he won't live here anymore. Tommy nodded solemnly. Like when Jake's mommy and daddy got divorced, but his daddy still comes to soccer games? Something like that. 3 weeks later, I sat in Rebecca's office reviewing the final settlement agreement. David had agreed to everything, full custody to me, the house, 75% of all assets, and $6,000 monthly support until Emma turned 18. Morrison and Associates had quietly dissolved after the client trust fund investigation went public. He signed without argument? I asked, still amazed. Turns out nearly losing your children to a dangerous stalker puts things in perspective, Rebecca replied. Plus, facing federal tax evasion charges gave him bigger problems than fighting you. David was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison and permanent disbarment. Marcus Chen received 5 years for stalking and terroristic threats. Jennifer Walsh plea bargained for probation in exchange for testimony against Morrison and Associates. On Halloween night, Emma wore her butterfly wings to trick or treat in our neighborhood while Tommy's dinosaur costume roared at friendly neighbors offering candy. For the first time in weeks, they looked like normal, happy children. Mommy, look how much candy we got. Emma dumped her bag on our kitchen table, the same table where she'd innocently asked about Daddy's other house just 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks that had cost David everything and given me back my life. Why does Daddy have 2 houses? Had been her innocent question. Now the answer was simple, because Daddy made choices that meant he couldn't live in ours anymore.